We're starting it now.
Great. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sylvia Smith, and I'm the Assistant Director here with the Neighborhood Equity and Stabilization Team within the Denver Office of Economic Development. We thank you for joining this is our second and final Q&A technical assistance for the 2022 Notice of Funding Availability. Just wanted to, before we do a little bit of housekeeping here, just let you all know that pretty much those that are on the phone today, some of you obviously could be new and just have learning about the NOFA release that occurred on September 27th, but that information is located on the DITO 2022 Notice of Funding page. And so today's purpose of our meeting for Q&A technical assistance is really around any questions that you have relative to the application and pretty much for the application platform, which is called Zengen. And so we are not revisiting and presenting or representing what we did on the kickoff meeting, or what we call the general information meeting, which was held on Monday, September 27th. So that information is available on the DITO webpage. That information is in the application. It's listed in the, in the application guidelines. There is the question and answers that came from that general information session are posted, as well as the video from that. We did host our first technical Q&A was held on Friday, October 8th. The addendum, meaning anything that was asked during that presentation, is also written up and posted on the website along with the video presentation. And then whatever's discussed today and answered will be done the same. So any questions that you have will be answered today, posted along with this video. So please know that you are being recorded. If you do have any concerns about being recorded, please make sure that you let us know now. Meanwhile, again, my name is Sylvia Smith, Assistant Director here with Neighborhood Equity and Stabilization Team. I'd like to go around and introduce the staff of Denver Economic Development and Opportunity and our Neighborhood Equity Stabilization Team members who are here today. I'm not quite sure how many outside guests we have. It looks like just a few, so we'll ask you also to come. You don't have to come off camera if you don't choose to, but we'd also like for you to introduce yourselves as well, because that won't take very long. But please, DITO staff, please start. Roger.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Roger Cobb, Program Specialist, Community Development Representative.
Dan.
Good morning, everyone. Dan Fector, Senior Internal Auditor with DITO.
Victoria.
Good morning, everybody. Victoria Lindsay, the Contract Administrator on the NEST team.
Thank you. Kelsey Murphy.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kelsey Murphy. I am the Data Platform Manager with DITO.
And we are thankful to have Kelsey. Tara.
Good morning, Tara Olden. I work with everyone on the NEST team with our CDBG funding. Nice to meet you.
Meredith.
Good morning, I'm Meredith Sagara. I am the Executive Assistant for NEST, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. And Eric.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric Valdez. I'm the Executive Office Staff Assistant.
Great. So for those of you who are our guests today, if you don't mind introducing yourselves as well, I will start with, it looks like Ashley Barrow. If you could just state your name and your organization.
Sorry, I was having a little bit of technical problems.
That's okay.
Hi, my name is Ashley Barrow. I am the Development Director at Healthier Colorado.
Great. Welcome. Laura McGarry, excuse me.
Hi, yeah, I'm Laura McGarry, and I am a consultant with Point B Strategies, working on this proposal for a couple different groups in Denver.
Great, thank you. Marcy.
Hi, I'm Marcy Morgans. I am the founder and CEO of NIA Philanthropy and working on this grant in concert with an entrepreneurial cooperative that's got an apprenticeship in the food space.
Great, thank you. It looks like Michelle. I'm not sure if I have that.
Michelle Kylan with Warren Village.
Thank you. And Rubier?
It's Ruby, actually, but yeah, everyone does that, no worries. Ruby Stoop, I'm a grant writer at Metro Caring. We're working on this proposal in partnership with Eastside Unified Unidos.
Great, thank you. That looks like I may have everyone. If I did not introduce you or catch you, please do feel free to stop me at any point and introduce yourself and the organization you're with. Again, this is the technical assistance portion Q&A. So basically, we're assuming that majority, if not all of you at this point, have read the application and the guidelines and have had the opportunity to play around with the Zension platform. So at this point in time, again, we don't revisit the introduction or any portions of the presentation that we did. So we'd like to hear from you. And so make sure that you just come off mic and state your question. And what we have and the folks that we have on the line today are those individuals that, excuse me, who we consider to be, or we call what your program specialist. If awarded, you will be assigned a program manager. Those individuals will guide you all the way through your program year. We have Victoria, who is what we call our contract administrator. She oversees the contracting process from when contracts takes contracts through execution, as well as does the compliance aspects. We have fiscal representation here today as well. Dan can help guide us on some fiscal questions if you have any this morning. And then we have Kelsey, who has helped design the new platform for Zension. So feel free to ask your question and we will notate it here, obviously through video recording, and then through the addendum following the meeting. Probably a couple days later, we'll be able to get this addendum posted as well. So anyone?
I guess I'll start. This is Marcy. I actually have fiscal agency. I actually have two questions. Can I ask two?
Ask as many questions.
Okay, cool. As I shared, working with a group of entrepreneurs that are starting a cooperative, and so we've applied for the Colorado Nonprofit Development Fiscal Agency. They said it takes 60, possibly a month to 60 days. Which would get us way past the 8th. I also have another, it's called Open Collaborative. That's another fiscal agent that can do it quicker.
Excuse me, Marcy, just one quick moment. Victoria, I don't know if you know that you're on camera. So go ahead, Marcy, sorry about that.
Yeah, so my question is that I know Colorado Nonprofit Development is kind of the go-to fiscal agent, but what do you also are you also open to Open Collective Foundation, which is a fairly well-known in the tech space? I'll put my face up too.
So your question is whether you have another fiscal sponsor that isn't CNDC?
Yeah,
that
will possibly have it confirmed before the 8th. CNDC will not have it confirmed by the 8th. They take at least a month.
Let's see. Victoria has been our fiscal sponsor sort of expert. She's been working a lot in that space. But again, and just to be clear as well, we will not be determining your program design. So whoever you all propose in your proposal or your application is what will be, ultimately what you guys are submitting. So we don't necessarily comment on any program design, and your partnerships are basically your partnerships. But go ahead. I can see Victoria on.
Well, the other one we're looking at that can move a little quicker is Open Cooperative Collective Foundation. And I can send the information, but I guess the real question is, do you have to have your fiscal sponsorship secured by the time you apply?
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, is that you as a smaller nonprofit have a fiscal sponsor or are seeking fiscal sponsorship from some larger agencies. Is that correct?
Yes, and we're a startup too, so it's a pilot apprentice program. So I have some questions around being a startup as well, but that's the main question. Can we apply while we're being considered through CNDC, or would you be open to the Open Collective Foundation as a fiscal sponsor?
So that you have to, by November 8th, by the time you submit your application, finalized and submitted, whoever is the agency overseeing or supporting or sponsoring your agency, that has to be in place, because we have to have, they're the ones that we are contracting with, basically.
I thought so.
And you would be considered a subcontractor. And so they're the ones that are submitting their Secretary of State, they're submitting their insurance, they're submitting all of their required documentation. And then you are working with them. And so if you don't have that contract or that in place, then that would not be you. I don't know how you would be able to participate with a fiscal sponsor who is not your actual fiscal sponsor. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as your collective, is that collective listed as, are they a nonprofit?
The other fiscal sponsorship is called Open Collective Foundation. It's a fiscal sponsorship that was suggested by the Center for Community Wealth, Paul Bedell, and they work fairly quickly. Like I said, Colorado Nonprofit Development Association, or the main one, they say they take at least a month. Now, they may be done by the 8th, but at the same time, we also don't want to take the chance of them not being
You
done.
would be cutting it pretty close. And your other, we can't weigh in on who you select as your fiscal sponsor partner. That's certainly up to you, but you definitely need to lock something down, just so that and they know what they're responsible for, and that they have gone through this entire application in Zingen to see, okay, what is it that we're required to do and submit, because they are actually the ones applying for the grant, and will be considered based on their information, and they would support you and monitor you, and they will determine if you are meeting the requirements of the program. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And we have a partner that is an actual nonprofit, so that may be who we default with instead of trying to find a fiscal agent. My second question is, this is a pilot startup pre-apprentice program, and I know this is a reimbursement. How do we do that? We have one of our partners that's really concerned about it being a reimbursement. Do you all direct us to loan programs that could actually help us get started, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's funny because Victoria just had this through a city attorney presentation. We've all been trained through the city attorney's office. Well, just been attending some city attorney trainings this past probably 10 days or so. And I think she's learned some information there as well that I did not get to attend that session. So she was privy or to some, to something new that was presented at that meeting. But you're right. First, Marcy, I think that you've heard a lot about how the city does its business, and we are reimbursement. And so what we're doing is expecting individuals to deliver the service. And then at the end of that delivery, every month, folks, agencies are billing us for that. I know that there's other organizations out there. Folks do not like to take loans, right? But there's that option. I know that there are some other entities out there that have sort of a bridge loan capacity to help nonprofits do that as well. But
do you
Victoria,
have any suggestions?
I've never used one. I've never known of anyone to use any. I know that the Denver Foundation, I still believe that they still have their loan program out there. But I want Victoria to share the information. I believe she's able to share that information.
There's some, let me see, the Denver Foundation, and what's the other one? Roger, you have to help me think about the other one that we didn't just hear about, but that we found out that one of our nonprofits utilized. But there's some assistance, either like 1% interest or like no interest or whatever, that some of the big foundations are supporting. And I can't remember if it's ULC or Mile High United Way, one of the big ones. But yeah, we have some suggestions that we can offer to you as resources. Dan, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this as well.
Yeah, no, sorry, I don't have anything to add.
So we understand your concern, and for grassroots small nonprofits, which is why the fiscal sponsorship is very attractive to a lot of the small grassroots nonprofits, because they can leverage funds because they have a larger portfolio, and they are able to kind of and support you while the reimbursements are coming in to support the program.
And just to add to that, Ms. Gantz, as Victoria was saying, it's really about the relationships that you have with, per se, a fiscal sponsor, whether it be CNDC, Colorado Health Foundation, Urban Land Conservancy. You've got some folks with some pretty deep pockets, and knowing that you've received an award letter and it's in contract posture are usually willing to help out, especially when we're talking about delivering services to the community.
Thank you.
And for everyone on the phone, that is one of the major changes that we've done in this year's NOFA, was for our 2022. We have the minimum request for funding is at $150,000. That is the minimum request folks should be submitting their applications for. And then secondly, we are looking for individuals to partner or collaborate with other organizations. So our intent in that is hoping that we could find larger organizations that will partner with smaller, sort of in the example that Marcy is showcasing here. But that is really the intent of this year's NOFA, is that we're trying to help build capacity within some of those other organizations, the smaller, and hoping that they can partner with larger organizations. Okay, thank you, Marcy. Any other questions? Right now, if folks are here thinking, I'd like to kind of go and visit one of the questions that I know that came into the inbox. It's been answered a couple times in the addendum, but since we have Kelsey on the phone today, if she could speak to it as far as the Zengen system and the character limits in the application, because it did come in again over the weekend. somebody who's applying inquired around that. And so she could clarify for individuals here who may come upon that during the process of submitting their application.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be happy to bring some information on that to you all. So the questions that have been coming up were about character limitations for the short answer questions. And so just this morning, I went into the platform to make sure that you all can submit your responses as much as needed. We do ask for them to be brief, but we don't have a character limit. So if you have run into problems with character limits, I have reset the platform and you shouldn't have those anymore. If you do, please continue to submit them through the email provided for help. But I will say that hopefully with that reset that happened this morning, you shouldn't have any issues. That reset this morning also didn't affect any information that you may have saved in draft. So if you've started adding in your responses to some of the questions and hit that limit, you can go in and either continue to add more now, but any information that has been there hasn't been changed with that refresh this morning. So you shouldn't be hitting any issues with the character limit. The only place where they are character limits are in the really small text boxes, such as what is your first name, last name, phone number, things like that. Those are limited to 250 characters because they should only be one word in essence, 1, 2, or 3 words in essence. The larger text boxes do not have a character limit, but please do keep them brief.
Great.
Can I add to, I just want to support Kelsey in what she said as a former coordinator of this process, an administrator in Wise Hive. As she said, we really need you all to be as brief as possible and be concise in your descriptions, because we have, if we get 150 applications, the capacity to read long narratives and to be able to, because what those evaluators are going to do is they are going to, in their reviews and comments, they are going to take out and try to be really concise in their description in the comments that you write. So as much as you can be precise in your descriptions is very helpful. Some of our evaluators are coming from outside. They've not heard from you or of you, and it's very difficult when we get long narratives, because then we have to go chop those things up when we're doing an executive summary and that kind of thing. And so as concise as you can get with your language and your descriptors, that's what's going to be really helpful. You don't want people seeing all of this narration and making a decision on what they're going to choose is the most important thing, or just kind of zoning out on all this information that you're putting in there. And then it's like, you missed a really important part because there's just too much to read if you have 30 applications to read and you have a very finite period of time in which you have to read those applications. So in the past, that is why we had character limits, because it really forced people to be very concise and very specific.
Great. Questions? Yeah, and it does feel a bit awkward. This is the first time through sort of this virtual setting that we've actually offered the technical assistance for the Q&A. In the past, when we've done the NOFA, we pretty much just have the one general kickoff meeting, and then we just, wait for individuals. Of course, we answer questions through an email forum, but we have just, this season or this funding year, we decided to host 2 Q&A based on the fact that we made those 2 major changes with the threshold and then again the partnership collaboration that we're encouraging. I will point to and want to reiterate for those of you who have not looked at that funding opportunities page, make sure that you read that through and the link is available through the NOFA application guidelines that's on the website, but some key points that I'd like to direct you to are the funding opportunities. On that page is the user's guide, which gives you a background about HUD and these funds. Tara just put that link again in the chat. You have the application guidelines, but most importantly, excuse me, you have the presentation, which is a PowerPoint presentation, which gives you background about the NOFA. That was the presentation on the 27th. Again, then we hosted the Q&A on October 8th, our first Q&A session, and then today's session. We had some difficulty posting the videos to our website, but they are posted on YouTube. And so if you have, I highly suggest that if you've never applied for CDBG money, I think that it would behoove you to take a look at those videos, especially for the one on the 27th. That's the longer presentation. And we have all the representatives that were here today, especially the fiscal piece, this engine platform, the contract compliance piece of it, are specifically stated and spoken to in that general information meeting. It's a little bit longer. It's about, I think, an hour-and-a-half video, but it does give you a really fairly good overview of what we're going to be looking for during this application process. So again, those videos are posted and the link is also there on the website.
I'd like to reiterate that just know that there are no dumb questions or silly questions. Something that you don't know is totally, I know some people feel like, I know this is a stupid question, but those don't exist, especially when you haven't been a part of this process. Or if you have, you know that the platform looks a little bit different, but should mostly be familiar to you. So please feel free to ask a question. And so while we're waiting for questions, I would like to ask of the bidders that are online, how many of you have actually submitted your draft or started a draft? And is there anything, what exactly, if you haven't finalized your submission, what exactly are you waiting for or looking for that will solidify and be clearer before you hit submit? So what you waiting for? That's what I'm curious to know, because we have so many that are in draft and haven't been finalized. So if you're on the line and would like to share that.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I think, Victoria, I know that you were out, I think, on the very first presentation. One of the things that we did emphasize to the individuals, and again, these are different people that are coming on to this TA, but we did state that we encouraged individuals to sort of continue completing an application or filling it out, but really waiting until the TA portion in case there were other questions that would arise to finally hit that submit. Because once they hit the submit, I think they're not encouraged to retract it, right? So that could be why some of them, but again, we're not seeing the same people, so I'm not quite sure. So I think you do have a good question there.
Did anybody want to weigh in to tell me what you think that you're waiting to get more clarification on before you hit that submit?
No one's going to come off mute, and that's okay. Some of them may not have started anything at this point either. So as of today, there's 2 weeks left to submit, and that deadline date and the time, I believe, is 4 p.m. So it's not 4:01, it's 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Because the system, I believe, Kelsey, will shut down, correct? For submittal?
Yes, that is correct. So it's 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The portal will close. So if you are in the process of turning it in at that time, it will kick you out. So make sure it's been submitted completely through the portal by 4 p.m. That requires not only marking the application complete, but actually hitting the green submit button until you see a notice that says your application has been submitted.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Mhm.
If some of you haven't had the opportunity yet and are new and just, learning of this and haven't had a chance to review the presentation, feel free to head to that website and at least take a look at the Q&As that came from that, and that may jar a question for you. And so sorry for the, the dead space and dead air, but again, this is our trial in doing this and offering the 2 technical assistance sessions. We were not quite sure how many folks would attend these, but we wanted to make sure that we offered them to the community and to any entity that was considering applying, so they have the opportunity to get their questions asked. But a lot of it is covered in, there's some really good questions that came before in the general information and the first Q&A. TA.
I have a question that's kind of a follow-up on the fiscal agent. I know they'll need to show Secretary of State and insurance. Will they also need any like operating budget, any budgetary requirements for the fiscal agent? And I'm just getting into the system, into the application, so it's probably in there.
So I don't know if this answers your question, and please feel free to just expound. But the fiscal agent can certainly have an administrative fee that they include in their budget request, because they are managing the documentation that you provide to the fiscal agent, because they're submitting everything on your behalf.
Okay.
And so
what's realistic? 5%? 10%?
We typically do a de minimis, but it really, which is about 10%, but it really depends on how many, because so there's some people that may apply and there might be 3 partners, let's say.
Yes.
And an administrative or a fiscal sponsor. And it really, we look at everything in a case-by-case basis just to see, is this reasonable based on the amount of data that they have to process and submit, and those invoices that they have to review and then submit to us for them to be reimbursed, and then for that fiscal agent to pay out to each of the partners, that kind of thing. And so it really is, it's pretty much we review everything individually to say their risk appears to be greater because they have more partners, or because of the work, the level of work that is being done. And so we take those things into consideration when we're reviewing the budgets, and if that particular agent and those partners are selected, then there's a whole negotiation that we go through to get more information and determine what is an actual reasonable and what the actual risk will be. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It actually added some information that I didn't know. So when we fill out the application, at the top it says organization's name, doing business as. Is that where the fiscal agent goes?
Correct. Yes. Okay. Because remember, we're contracting with them.
Right.
And they are managing the smaller nonprofits, all the partners.
Right.
Okay. So all that information goes in there, excuse me, as what that fiscal agent or sponsor is doing. And then there's portions where, in that narrative portion, that's where you get to kind of talk about all of those, the subcontracts or the partners. And it was like, this is the program that we're managing. And we're managing XYZ nonprofit. we're managing 1, 2, 3 XYZ nonprofit would be responsible for this. And then you would give some detail and information about XYZ nonprofit. And then, 1, 2, 3 nonprofit would be handling this portion of this sponsorship or this whole project.
So they would attach their most recent fiscal year in financial statements, the fiscal agent.
Correct.
Or the nonprofit. Because like I said, we either will go with the fiscal agent if CNDC is ready, or we have a part of our partnership, there is a nonprofit that we're thinking we might just default to. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we would also be looking at, and that's something that Dan would be looking at, and it's like, okay, what's your structure? What's that structure of that nonprofit that's in your consortium or in your collective? And it's like, do you have an accountant that has some experience in government accounting? Do you have, what's that structure? So would they be able to handle, and depending on the number of partners that are participating in this particular project. And so, so that's where those things come in. What kind of experience do they have, and does that make sense?
Great, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I would like to call attention to a question. Sorry, I just lost my screen here. Making sure that you understand who is eligible as relates to who we are serving with this funding. And we are funding Denver County residents. That's who we're looking to support, and that is who we support. So services offered in the targeted NEST neighborhoods, which is spoken to in the application, are East Colfax, Elyria, Swansea, Globeville, Montbello, Northeast Park Hill, Sun Valley, Valverde, Villa Park, West Colfax, and Westward. Those neighborhoods will receive priority considerations. You are still eligible for funding as long as you are eligible for funding as long as you're serving Denver County residents. And so the question that was posed was if we are not located in a NEST neighborhood but serve youth and families from NEST neighborhoods, are projects still eligible for funding? And our answer to that was yes, you are still eligible as long as you're serving Denver County residents, and then we're looking to those that are most specifically in our NEST neighborhoods. That's what will be given priority. But that, again, is on the addendum that is on the website. So you could see that question along with many others.
And that you're able to demonstrate.
Yes.
That you keep data, that you are documenting where the people are coming from. Because if you are, for example, a nonprofit and you have 400 people that you're serving, but you can only verify that 4 of those people have come from a Denver County, from a NEST neighborhood, that would be problematic.
Good point. Thank you. So we have about 17 minutes left. It could be dead air, but that's okay. But not sure if Ruby or Michelle, Ashley, anyone has a question?
So I had a question for Ruby. Ruby, are you the one who's the grant administrator for several nonprofits? I thought I heard someone say that.
Sure. So I work for Metro Caring, but we have an ongoing collaboration and partnership with Eastside Unified Unidos, and that's who will be submitting our proposal.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So Ruby, what do you think are your biggest challenges in with the proposal?
So part of our challenge is we kind of just found this opportunity like a week ago. So we're a little behind the times and just trying to get caught up with everything. And so I haven't had a chance yet to watch those videos, and I think that's my next step. But yeah, I think our biggest sort of concerns right now are the fiscal management side of it. We have a lot of projects and programs that are a great, fit with this opportunity, and just making sure that our accounting staff have the capacity to manage it all really well is, I think, where we're at right now.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That especially with organizations where you have to allocate time, or it certainly could be a circumstance where it's like, okay, we need to have an accounting person that is on contract just to manage this. Because federal, I'm sure you're very much aware, federal programs require, that documentation and meeting uniform guidance, and the gap procedures, and just ensuring that T's are crossed and I's are dotted from that federal bureaucratic standpoint, and of which we have a responsibility to uphold. And so I can understand that, having to vet that to say, hey, do we have the capacity? Because the thing about it is, you won't know right at this stage how much time is really required. And so sometimes we find out that, and I just want to reiterate to people that what you submit in a budget and what you are, if you're accepted, are what you negotiate. Those things are, remember, that budget is just a plan. Those things are definitely, they may have to be adjusted. So you may say, well, 10% of my accountant's time is going to be allocated. And then when you kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, you find out, she's really spending 25% of her time. We have the ability to kind of to adjust those times where you get an idea what's really realistic, or you say, you know what, we really have to hire a part-time accountant to manage this, or we're going to contract this out because our accountants can't juggle it. And so that's something that we're pretty flexible with. And so don't think that whatever you submitted in this budget is something that is in stone. We got to get a reasonable idea of what that program outline and what the capacity is. So keep that in mind.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Victoria.
Yes, I'd like to also speak to thanks to Dan Fector, who's our senior internal auditor. For those of you who've never applied, we have a different budget spreadsheet this year in the application. So hopefully that folks that apply find it a bit more user-friendly. We used to require the full budget and a budget narrative, excuse me, and now those are sort of embedded into one document. So we thank Dan for creating that doc for us this year. And additionally, just want to let you know, if in fact anyone here is awarded, you are not left to fend for yourself, of course. We do provide a training for all contractors that are awarded. You are assigned your community development representative. For example, Roger serves in that capacity. Tara has served slightly in that capacity. She has another responsibility within DITO, but you're not left to fend for yourself. And so we're here to guide you through that entire program year, as well as provide you that support. So, and you're going to get that support from the fiscal team, from the monitoring. Victoria will monitor those contracts, will help first, obviously, before you get to the monitoring portion of it, you'll be getting through the contract execution process. And so, so you'll be partnered up with the programs person, the community development rep, and then your contracts assigned staff, which is Victoria for our team. So you will not be left to fend for yourself.
Our fiscal accounts payable and our internal auditor, our senior internal auditor, Dan, they are amazing that There's no question that you cannot ask them. Dan is very much a problem solver and really looks at the regulations and tries to make a way for something to work out and for something to happen. If there's documentation that you don't collect, you know, he's really great at saying, okay, well, what about this or what about this? Do you show this? And uh, willing to look at your systems and your records to see if you are equipped to capture the data that we would be required to report on. And so um, that was thank you for saying that, Sylvia, because we do have an amazing fiscal team at DITO that is ready to jump in. And I know even for me, after 20 years, I can still ask Dan, well, Dan, what about this? Because I thought that meant that. He was like, yeah, well, in some circumstances it does. However, you know, we can do X, Y, Z. And so just feel free to like, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. You know,
Yeah.
we have we have a really, really amazing team. We have the best team in all of DITO, in the Nest team. And so we just, you know, we're partners and your success is our success. And we just want you to know that, you know, we're here to jump in and because we do everything with the end user in mind, with those community participants in mind so that they can be successful. And so there's no question that will go unanswered. It might take us
Yes.
a couple of days to find the answer and get the right people in to put our heads together, but we ultimately we have the same goal as that end user, and so we want to help you provide those services as a partner to the community, so that our communities are thriving and growing.
And to that equation, definitely don't want to leave out Kelsey. She's a new addition to DITO, but under the leadership of Jonathan Steiner. So they're our data team and really trying to drill down and helping things use a platform that can help make things easier for reporting. We're still learning in that space as they are. They're very creative, though, very, very, very creative. And so you'll be teamed with them as well. But at the end of the day, the program specialist or the community development representative is the individual that you will be. That is your go-to person throughout this contract. And then, you know, they'll call in the fiscal team, they'll call in the data team when necessary. But that will be your first point of contact. So we have about 8 minutes left.
I have just a question. I know that within the application or the system, there is ways to ask for a way to ask questions, and I cannot find it anywhere. Is that on the website that you all sent us, that you just gave us, the Tara? Is that anywhere on there?
Oh, do you mean to pose a question after this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's in the guideline, the DITO proposal. Yeah, it'll lead you to the inbox for the proposals. And that link is embedded in the application.
Do you know what page that is? Because I'm trying to find it. Oh, I see it. DITO questions. Okay, so it's not like a, it's just an email that we can send.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous.
And we monitor that. We monitor that on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's just so, because I know we're going to have a question. And
yes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I just know we're going to have a question, so I wanted to make sure before I got off of this site that I know where to ask the questions.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the team want to add in anything? You're welcome, Marcy. Thank you. Tara, Roger, any comments? Any words of wisdom?
No, I just think I'm excited. It seems like there's a number of folks that have put drafts in or have submitted drafts, so it should be interesting. And again, just make sure you reach out if there are any questions. Like Victoria said, there are no dumb questions. So yeah, if there's anything that comes up, just please make sure that you send in those questions via that email link.
Thank you.
And I guess I would just add to the group, please, 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 please don't wait until November 7th to try and submit your application, because as Sylvia said, at 4:01 p.m., it will be cut off, the portal will be closed. And the other bit of advice I always like to share with folks is if, within this nonprofit community, if in fact, you have some relationships, or you've built some relationships, folks that have been awarded on the NOFA, or folks that are doing some similar work, if you will. Sylvia kind of gave us an overview in terms of the $150,000 that we're awarding. And so, that can be used for 3 or 4 entities, working similarly or in concert together. I think sometimes, you get a bigger bang for the buck. It's not as much money, but then, you're growing on that entity, if you will. So I just encourage to, reach out and team up with other nonprofits that are doing similar work to give a better product at the end. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Because that was a question that came up. We do not have a maximum award. Most likely, if you propose, the minimum of $150,000 is what we're looking to have folks propose. But Victoria, what was I just saw your comment. It's not a maximum award of 150. Is that what you just said or typed?
Yeah, I put it's a minimum because Roger was saying we're looking to award 150,000. Well, that's just the minimum. I mean,
yes.
You can certainly propose an outline more than that.
Yes.
And you could propose less than that, but that's really not what we're looking to propose. That if you have partners, let's say you had a partner that says, I think we can do this work for this many people for 30,000. And then you had a partner that says, yeah, and our portion would be probably about 40,000. Well, you're at 70,000 now. And then maybe you have a third partner that says, yeah, we could serve this many people to do this portion of the project for, $70,000. So, you're close to 150,000 at 140. And so that's just something like we just do a case by case basis. It was like, so I wonder if the $30,000 group or partner is proposing serving 10 people, we could negotiate serving more people to get more and give them another $10,000 or something to serve more if we're looking to reach more people in the community. So that's all a part of this whole dance that we're going to do. Should you while we're reviewing the proposals, and there may be just be prepared that there may be an opportunity for you to be called in for an interview. If there's some components of your proposal that were intriguing, that people in the office or that our director may want to have, is like, I'm intrigued by this. I don't think I got enough information. I'd like to call them in for an interview. That certainly is an option that the director might exercise, is to call people in for an interview to have a little bit more information. Or and we do go in and look at your websites. We do our due diligence to get as much information about the program as possible. So just know that.
Okay. Well, we're down to the last minute, so we just want to make sure that if there's another question out there, make sure you shoot it now out to us. And if not, want to thank everybody for your interest in applying for the 2022 Notice of Funding Availability through Denver Economic Development and Opportunity. Again, make sure that you visit the webpage. If you have a question, feel free to shoot it to the inbox, and we'll go from there. So we look forward to seeing what proposals we've submitted by 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on Monday, November 8th. So have a good day, and we look forward to seeing your proposals. So take care. Thank you for joining us.